a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Today is my first time where it's been nice enough to film outside in 2018, so I am thrilled. I think it's supposed to get up to about 16 today, or maybe more. It's not that hot now, but I don't care. And my usual bench in this little concrete parquet, I don't have the benefit of the leaves to give me any shade, so it's going to be a little bit squinty, but let's go with it, shall we? Here I am with my can of hot coffee from the vending machine. Life is beautiful. Especially because I'm here today with a review of a novel I finished a couple days ago. The debut novel from the Igbo Tamil Nigerian American novelist. I'm not sure if she would call herself Nigerian American, although I believe she now resides in the US, but that part I'm not sure of. So let's just say she identifies as Igbo Tamil writer, and this is her debut. Her name is Akwaeke Emezi, and her novel is called Freshwater. This was a 5-star read from me, and I've been raving about it on every Friday Reads and every chance I get on BookTube, and now here I am with hopefully a slightly more well thought out review, because it just blew my mind. Wow. It's not a perfect novel. No debut is, no novel is, but I gave it an exuberant 5-star review for its inventiveness and the power of it, the writing and the vision of the story. It's a heavily autobiographical novel. I listened to a really great review with Emezi from, I think, WNYC in New York City. I'll put a link to that interview below. I had kind of gathered anyway, but that certainly taught me that it's heavily autobiographical. It's about a girl growing up in Nigeria. Her father's Nigerian and her mother's Tamil from Malaysia. Parents' marriage ends up going awry, and the girl, Ada, it's spelled A-D-A, but I've now realized it should be pronounced Ada, has a lot of problems. Psychological, spiritual problems, according to what her family observe. We, the reader, soon understand that if there's a problem, it's that Ada is a god, and the problem is being incarnated. And there's a wonderful quote from somewhere in the novel. The first madness was that we were born, that they stuffed a god into a bag of skin. Now, you can buy that or not buy that. You can be skeptical about the Igbo, which is a tribe that's primarily in Nigeria, the Igbo spirituality. You can read this with a psychological lens or not, a psychiatric lens or not, because Ada ends up having what in the West we would call dissociative identity disorder, or we used to call multiple or split personality. You can take any approach you want, and Emezi herself says this, but I, as having just read it, echo what she said. Read it however you want. I haven't had such good luck reading novels that were heavily spiritual from Africa. The most recent one that I didn't think it was handled well, was the Ugandan novel Chintu by Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi. I didn't like the way that curse was narrativized. I didn't think that it was well handled in the novel, so I bailed about halfway through, 40% through. Achebe's masterpiece, Things Fall Apart. I liked the way the African spirituality was handled in that book, but that's such an amazing novel. So I was skeptical going in, because I'm not a religious, spiritual person, so I really wasn't sure what this was going to be for me at all. Well, it was. What seized me by the collar in the opening pages and never let go was the narrative strategy that Emezi employs to show this. So rather than deal really with any kind of Western psychiatric or psychological perspective, it's in there, but rather than cast the story that way, and cast is an optimal verb here, she casts the story within the context of Igbo ontology. or using a pantheon of Igbo gods. And for more than half of the novel, maybe 60, 65, 70%, the narrator is identified as we. And it's undifferentiated collective or mass of Igbo deities speaking with one voice. And that was absolutely incredible to read. So you don't have to, you can believe in it or not believe in it, you can turn your nose up, it doesn't matter. I guarantee 92% of you will be swept away by the power of that narrative voice. Let me give you a couple examples. The stories that survived, the new names they took, the temper of old gods sweeping through new land, the music taken that is the same as the music left behind, and of course the humans who survived, those selected among them, the ones in white, the ones shaking shells and mineral deposits, the ones ridden, the ones chosen, the ones who follow, work, and serve, because calls pass through blood, no matter how many oceans you drop death into. There's just something incantatory about that voice, the voice of we. Here's another one. Earlier, when we said she went mad, we lied. She has always been sane. It's just that she was contaminated with us, a godly parasite with many heads, roaring inside the marble room of her mind. Everyone knows the stories of hungry gods, ignored gods, bitter, scorned, and vengeful gods. First duty, feed your gods. If they live, like we do, inside your body, find a way. Get creative. Show them the red of your faith, of your flesh. Quiet the voices with the lullaby of the altar. It's not as if you can escape us. Where would you run to? Well, let's pick up with what we said there. Find a way, get creative. In fact, that's the journey that Ada is on, and it's fascinating because the we narrative, the undifferentiated deities, they refer to her as the Ada. I hope I've been consistently referring to her as Ada, not Ada, but anyway. But they refer to her as the Ada, and that was just fascinating because putting that definitive article before her name just showed their perspective on her that was somewhat distant but also close. They were in her and they would be in and out of her, and then eventually she suffers a terrible trauma as a young adult studying in the United States. She is assaulted, and that leads to the first fully realized second personality, Asagara, who then enters the narrative and is one of the narrators. And she refers to Ada as Ada with no the. Again, really just fascinating the way that's done. Now, I have to admit that if I had anything to criticize about the novel was I didn't really care for the Asagara point of view. I didn't think it was as well done. But I'm totally giving Emezi the benefit of the doubt because I think maybe everything that I didn't like about her was exactly what the author intended me not to like. But it had a chick lit feel. The Asagahara point of view was all about how she would take over Ada, who was not really sexually alive or interested in sex, but Asagara was, and so she would take over. And that dynamic, the way it was written, it didn't work for me as well. But that was maybe 35% of this story. And there were parts of it that were also really powerful. So I'm totally giving Emezi the benefit of the doubt on that, and I haven't heard any other reviewer with that criticism. So I'm just going to put that out there and move on. Like Emezi herself, Ada eventually chooses to have fairly radical modifications to her body as a way of expressing her transgendered identity, and that was all really fascinating. It was just an incredible reading experience for me. I can't wait to read whatever she writes next. You just have to watch. She has a few videos. She has her own channel on YouTube. There's not much there, but you just have to watch 2 minutes of her or listen to her on audio to just fall in love with Akwaeke Emezi. And I think I said this before, but lovable people don't always write good books. But this was probably, I would be shocked if this doesn't end up being within my top 5 reads of 2018. That's how deeply it impressed me. So please check it out for yourself. Apparently she has narrated the audiobook. I read the ebook, but she has a lovely voice, so if you have a chance to try it on audio, do that. But if you have hang-ups like I do about spirituality or whatever, just read 10 pages and I guarantee you most of you won't be able to put it down. But I couldn't, and now that I'm finished, I'm not sure quite what to do with myself. That's my review of Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi. Thanks for watching.